Very few people will tell you that. All right, on to our big top story tonight. Alarming, shocking. People will go to jail. Comparisons to KGB tactics. Well, that is how lawmakers tonight are describing the biggest scandal in American history that the media is trying to ignore. They will not be able to. Now, Sarah Carter is reporting tonight that more than 130 members have actually gone to see the explosive classified memo that shows systematic FISA abuses against the Trump campaign and an incoming president. And according to Sarah Carter, the vast majority of those members of Congress, they happen to be Republicans. In fact, only Democrats, the only ones to look at the 4-page memo, are the ones who are on the House Intelligence Committee, and only one other Democrat we know of actually took the time and went over to look at it today. And Democrats on that House committee, by the way, who are the ones that voted to keep it secret from Congress, they don't want you to see it. So what are the Democrats trying to cover up in this particular case? What are they hiding here? Who are they protecting here? And why do they want to keep it a secret? Now, tonight, we are demanding that this information be released to you, the public, because the American people, you need to know about this huge and massive abuse of power and how the Obama administration has weaponized the powerful tools of intelligence and how the Clinton bought and paid for phony Russian dossier was actually used to not only spy on the Trump campaign, but also to get a FISA warrant based on lies. So we're asking tonight that you call your members of Congress. There's the number. It's on your screen, 202-224-3121. Tell your members of Congress, release the memo. That's it. If you're on Twitter, hashtag release the memo. We're going to put the number up throughout the show tonight. Now, I know a lot of you have been writing and asking, well, why is it taking so long? We have been since March. We reported first then about this abuse, that the Trump campaign had a FISA warrant that was issued against them. That was back in March. We have been unpeeling the layers of this onion, this massive scandal. And it is so imperative. We've now gotten to this point that you need to see this information for yourself. We hope you'll call the number on your screen. Demand, just release the memo. Tell the truth to the American people. Because we have a few powerful people in the intelligence community. Well, they thought they knew better than we did, than you did, about who should be the president. They abused their position. They tried to influence, steal, rig an election. Now, all that needs to happen is this. The House Intelligence Committee, they need to vote to release this information to the public. They will then send it to the White House, so I would assume would sign off on it. So in reality, with enough pressure, this could be done in a matter of days. And sources familiar with this memo, they are telling us that the contents of this memo are so severe and so shocking that it will lead to the firing of people at the highest levels of the FBI and the DOJ. Now, please keep this in mind. As we said earlier, everything that we are telling you tonight, it's only a small portion of what will be coming out throughout this year. It's going to take time. We're going to need your patience. But the first explosive evidence is now available. Think back to Watergate. Watergate was, a third-rate break-in, a group of people trying to cover up, a break-in at the Watergate Hotel to get information on an opposition candidate. This scandal is about the systemic abuse of power, the weaponizing of the powerful tools of intelligence against an opposition party during an election year, and in the process shredding our Constitution, our Fourth Amendment constitutional protections against unreasonable search and seizure, all in a plot to impact and rig and steal an election. That's how important this is. And I don't care if you're a liberal, a conservative, a Republican, and Democrat. You need to care about this, because we will lose our constitutional republic if we don't get to the bottom of this. And when all this information finally sees the light of day, it will remove any doubt that the special counsel, Robert Mueller, his team of partisan Democratic donors need to be disbanded, and their witch hunt needs to be shut down immediately. And as we showed you last night, these are the key players in all of this. They are high-ranking Obama, FBI, and DOJ officials, and a lot more information about them will be coming out in just the next couple of weeks. I think the latest we will get this is around January 30th, but we need to see it sooner. We also know that the Trump-hating FBI agent Peter Strzok and his FBI lawyer mistress, Lisa Page, they're at the center of everything here. And we know from the released text messages that they called then candidate Trump an idiot, loathsome, a lonesome human being, F Trump. And there are still 9,600 text messages that we have not seen yet. And one particular message really gets to the heart of what we've been trying to find out. And this is between Peter Strzok and Page. And now it makes a lot more sense knowing what we know. Now, back in August, Strzok wrote to Lisa Page, well, I want to believe the path that you threw out for consideration in Andy's office, that there's no way he gets elected, but I'm afraid we can't take that risk. It's like an insurance policy in the unlikely event that you die before you're 40. And we, of course, believe that was Andy McCabe, the FBI director, of course, Andrew McCabe. And we also are believing tonight, and we have very strong evidence to corroborate this, that Lisa Page was the key counsel for McCabe. You see the nexus here? You got Lisa Page, you got Peter Strzok, you got Andrew McCabe. What's the insurance policy? Talking about an insurance policy in case Donald Trump wins the election and Hillary loses. And at the same time, then you have the Obama administration. They're trying to obtain a FISA warrant to spy on the Trump campaign. And they say, allegedly, it's about Carter Page, but we know it's a pretext. And sources are telling us that the first request for the warrant was rejected. They said no, which rarely happens. And that's when the Clinton bought and paid for phony Russian propaganda dossier was then used. Now, that dossier put the request over the top. Then they were granted the FISA warrant, and that allowed the Obama administration to begin the systemic abuse of FISA spying powers to target a candidate, an opposing candidate, an opposition party in an election. And this is part of the important Fusion GPS. Now, co-founder Glenn Simpson. Now, he testified. This was released yesterday. He didn't even bother to verify what was in the dossier. He just trusted the person he's paying, British spy Christopher Steele, even though Steele is known to have paid Russians for information. And by the way, his very skilled nature is what? His skill is deception. And we're learning from the Simpson testimony that the Clinton campaign and the DNC knew he was reacting, in other words, and reaching out to the media outlets to try and get them to write stories about the fabricated Russian dossier. So just like we've been telling you, Clinton bought and paid for a dossier, $12 million. It was going right through one lawyer through her campaign, right through another lawyer through the DNC, which she was controlling. In it, what do we have? Russian lies, salacious lies, all in an attempt. She rigged the election against Bernie. Now she's trying to rig the election against Trump. Comey and Strzok, well, they exonerate her before an investigation. You get it? There's a lot of rigging here. I know this is a lot to absorb, but there are so many questions. We need to know who knew what, when, and where. And let me tell you this tonight. Andrew McCabe, if you're watching, you need to be fired and you need to be investigated. And by the way, so does the Trump-hating FBI agent, Peter Strzok, fired and investigated. His FBI lawyer mistress, fired and investigated. Lisa Page, gone. Demoted DOJ official Bruce Orr, who met with Fusion GPS before and after, removed, fired, and investigated. James Comey, who we know rigged, in other words, gave an exoneration before investigation, we learned today is reportedly going to teach an ethical leadership class at William and Mary. You've got to be kidding. Anyway, he needs to be investigated, and he may want to hire a lawyer instead, maybe an ethical one at that. Rod Rosenstein, you need to explain your role in all of this, and specifically, if you were involved in extending this FISA warrant. And frankly, Rod Rosenstein needs to be fired. And finally tonight, Special Counsel Robert Mueller, his corrupt and biased investigation needs to be shut down once and for all. It was predicated on lies from the beginning. The country has suffered enough, and it has been unfair, inaccurate, untrue, and extremely and extraordinarily and abusively biased in their tactics and their hiring of people with questionable ethics who in the past have withheld exculpatory evidence, were overturned 9-0 in the Supreme Court. People went to jail, and that was overturned in the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeal. And you only hired people that donated to Barack Obama, Hillary, and, of course, the DNC. What we are uncovering here is far worse than Watergate. People need to be held accountable, especially when you have congressmen that saw the memo, that say the memo is likely to send people to jail. This is a massive abuse of power, a major violation and a shredding of America's constitutional principles. The powerful tools of intelligence were abused by the people at the top, not the rank and file, not the FBI, agents out there working hard to protect us every day, not the people in the intelligence community that protect us every day. These were people at the top. Instead, they weaponized those tools of intelligence to spy on an opposition party, and it is why tonight we are asking you to help us and demand that this memo be released to the American people that will begin the process, only begin it, to show